First tonight, here's a live look from the AES outage map. Right now, you can see more than 1,000 people are still in the dark, but that is down from more than 2,600 earlier this evening.
And take a look at this. This is a time-lapse video. You can see storms rolling into the Miami Valley. The rain's starting to come down. Not as strong as we first thought they could be, but it still brought some heavy rain at points. And now we're going to transition from rain to, I guess you could say, reality, because it is going to get cold and those wind chills.
Yeah.
I hate to hear you even say it.
Yeah, it's going to get really cold by tomorrow morning. Temperatures are already falling, so if you were out earlier today, you step out right now, it's going to feel a whole lot different. We have rain pushing off to the east, but let's talk about what we did see earlier today, because we started out the morning with a good rain, soaking rain, even some heavier rain at times. This is a look at around 6 a.m. You can see how we saw some heavier pockets, some areas of thunder, lightning, and then we saw some brief clearing, but unfortunately it really wasn't enough to help destabilize our atmosphere, or I should say fortunately, because we really missed out on that severe weather across the area. Now we have our front that is pushing its way off to the east, still some lingering showers in southeastern Clinton counties, but as that colder air is sliding in, we do have winds that are picking up, 25-mile-per-hour winds in Springfield. These are gusts, 32-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Greenville. So this is what our temperature is. It feels like 47, or it is 47 in Dayton, 30s off to the west, but you factor in the wind, it does feel even colder, and we're going to feel chilly as you wake up tomorrow morning. Kids heading out to the bus stop will start out in the 20s, wind chills in the teens, and only in the 30s by the afternoon.
Natalie, thanks. And as we get weather updates, we'll be sure to alert you here on air and through our Dayton 24/7 Now app. With the app, you can get breaking weather alerts sent right to the palm of your hand. Just take out your camera and scan the QR code that you see right there on your screen to download the app. You can also find it in the Google Play and Apple app stores.
Now to the train derailment in East Palestine tonight. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine calling for the immediate support of the CDC. DeWine is calling for medical experts to evaluate members of the community who may have questions following the derailment or believe they're experiencing symptoms related to it. Nearly 2 weeks ago now, a train which was carrying toxic chemicals derailed, caught fire. DeWine says the decision was made to go forward with a controlled release of hazardous materials to avoid an explosion.
Meanwhile, both U.S. senators who represent Ohio were in East Palestine touring the damage that was left behind by that train derailment. Republican Senator J.D. Vance took to Twitter after stopping by a creek in the village. Vance says his focus is on potentially polluted water in East Palestine and is putting pressure on Norfolk Southern, the railroad owners, to finish the cleanup. Now, Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown spent the day talking with residents, firefighters, and EPA officials. Brown wrote a letter to the governor asking him to declare a disaster and seek full support from the government to assist in the cleanup.
Norfolk Southern should have been at that town hall last night. I know they fear for their safety, but so do a lot of people here.
One issue that we have to be careful about is we don't let Norfolk Southern off the hook. But look, this is a dynamic situation. That could be a different answer 3 days from now.
Now, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator also got a first-hand look at the situation in East Palestine today. Michael Regan pledges a whole-of-government response to the disaster there. The EPA is conducting around-the-clock air monitoring. The agency says all readings are safe. Residents can request that water testing is done at their homes and private wells. Regan says the EPA will be there for as long as it takes.
The community has questions, and they deserve answers. I want the community to know that we hear you, we see you, and that we will get to the bottom of this.
Officials at multiple levels of government vow to hold rail company Norfolk Southern accountable for the situation. The company is already making payments to residents for the trouble. The National Transportation Safety Board still has to determine what caused the derailment.
And questions are being asked in Cincinnati tonight about whether or not emergency crews are ready to respond to a disaster like what happened in East Palestine. Christian Hauser talked with the largest emergency management agency and the Cincinnati Fire Department to find out how they prepare for a train derailment.
Cincinnati Fire District Chief Michael Case heads the Special Operations Bureau. Think bomb squad and train derailments.
How critical is finding out what the cargo is in terms of dealing with an incident?
It's absolutely very critical. In fact, one of the first things we want to know is what's in there. So as soon as we're figuring out what lives are in peril or in danger, we're immediately trying to figure out then exactly what materials are involved.
Case says Cincinnati Fire works with Norfolk Southern and CSX to help train for a disaster like what happened in East Palestine.
Is Cincinnati Fire ready and capable and practiced to respond to an event like this?
I am absolutely confident that Cincinnati Fire Department can handle this same situation that occurred in New Palestine here in Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati, I'm Christian Hauser.
Clark State College taking to Facebook tonight to announce that an arrest has been made following a bomb threat. The campuses were evacuated earlier today due to that threat. All classes were canceled, the buildings were closed. They'll remain that way tomorrow as well.
A live look now at the Miami Valley Jail's website, where 35-year-old Rayshon Piner is behind bars after being sentenced today. The 35-year-old Trotwood man, Rayshon Piner, again will spend more than 12 years in prison for possessing with the intent to distribute bulk amounts of narcotics. In May of 2021, officers seized nearly 2 kilograms of methamphetamine, more than 800 grams of cocaine, and 42 grams of fentanyl from Piner's home.
The Dayton Fire Department has ordered an emergency demolition of a house that caught fire earlier today. Crews arrived at that fire on South June Street. It was a vacant house. The Dayton Fire District Chief called the effort to put out the fire a struggle because they had trouble getting enough water on the fire itself. The district chief said the cause of the fire is still under investigation and is considered suspicious.
Live pictures over downtown Dayton tonight, where residents are going to be seeing some changes in the near future. That's thanks to nearly $500,000 in funding from the city's recovery plan. Gwyneth Falloon is live tonight after speaking with city officials and people out in our community. And Gwen, what did they say that this money was going to be used for?
Megan, Fred Stovall with Public Works tells me the $450,000 is going to be used for research and assessment purposes. The city is going to be examining the curbs and sidewalks in different neighborhoods across Dayton.
Now, Gwen, how many neighborhoods are going to be impacted?
Megan, there are 6 different neighborhoods that are going to be impacted. They are Five Oaks, Wolf Creek, Old North Dayton, Miami Chapel, Edgemont, and Carillon. The residents there tell me it's long overdue.
When you want to get out and walk your dog, walk your kids, walk to the park, that you get a good path and safe pathway to get to the other destinations in your neighborhood.
Now, Stovall tells me that he hopes to have that assessment data back by the summer to begin construction by the end of the year at the very latest. However, he did warn that this project could take several years, but ideally he hopes to have the project fully complete by the end of 2025. Back to you.
Gwen, thanks. We're getting new video into our newsroom tonight. This was from inside the Texas Mall where last night's shooting took place. You can see everyone in the mall running the moments the first shots were fired. And officials are still trying to figure out why a shooter opened fire inside that El Paso mall in the first place, killing one, hurting 3 others. However, in an update tonight, police say they don't believe it was a targeted attack.
1 individual is confirmed deceased and 3 others were shot. This is a random incident encounter between 2 groups. And I want to emphasize this is a random incident that occurred between 2 groups at the mall.
Police say the 4 victims, including the one who died, were involved in the shootout. 2 were arrested for their involvement. This mall is right next to the Walmart where a mass shooting killed 23 people in 2019, just a day before the Oregon District shooting in Dayton.
Police at Michigan State University say Monday's shooter purchased 2 handguns legally but never registered them. Authorities say they're confident the shooter, 43-year-old Anthony McCrae, acted alone. They're still trying to determine a motive. Now, police say they found the guns, ammunition, and a 2-page note when he killed himself after being confronted by police. They say the note included a list of other targets, including several businesses, including one where he used to work.
So it looks like he possibly a motive for that was he just felt slighted, and that's kind of what the note indicated.
Now, 3 students were killed and 5 others were injured and remain in critical condition tonight. Thankfully, the interim university president says they are showing signs of improvement. Classes at MSU have been suspended through Sunday.
Now, following the Michigan State shooting, as well as last night's shooting in El Paso, U.S. senators are reintroducing the bill you see on your screen in an attempt to end gun violence. Now, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy is reintroducing the Background Check Expansion Act. The legislation would require background checks for every firearm sale with limited exceptions. Murphy notes some states do not require background checks for online sales or during gun shows. He says that gives criminals easier access to firearms.
The quickest way to make our country safer, the quickest way to stop a lot of this gun crime in our cities is to have a universal background checks requirement. That's what we're reintroducing today. It's supported by 90% of the American public.
Now, Murphy acknowledges the legislation will likely face an uphill battle, particularly in the Republican-controlled House. Many GOP lawmakers are wary of measures they believe could infringe on citizens' Second Amendment rights. The original bill had several Democratic co-sponsors, including Senator Sherrod Brown.
Here's a live look at AAA's gas price map tonight. You can see the state's average of $3.27 sits just below the national average. Now, if you've been out and about, you may have noticed a fluctuation in gas prices just from station to station. Melina Brown tells us what's driving the different costs.
The average cost of gas in Montgomery County is about $3.22, which is about 20 cents lower than the national average of $3.42. But even within the county, there is some fluctuation. If you look behind me at the gas station we're at now, it's about $2.99. However, just right across the street, you'll see that it's $3.05. And while these prices may be as good as they're going to get for a while.
Right now, I think gas prices are probably looking as good as they're going to look for a little while. And then we're going to go ahead into the summer season, the travel season. Plus, refineries are going to be switching over to their summer blends. So that's going to reduce supply as well.
It is advised to download an app like Gas Buddy to be able to monitor the gas in your area and find the best option for you. For Dayton 24/7 Now News, I'm Melina Brown.
AED devices helping save lives after sudden cardiac arrest. The new legislation that requires the devices at all youth sporting events.
And President Biden addressing his response to the Chinese balloon shot down earlier this month. Why he says the way it was handled sends a clear message to China.
And cold air is sliding its way in. I'm going to talk about how cold will be for our Friday. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 Now.
A story out of Englewood that's been trending across social media today.
Lydia Bice is at the Now Desk. And Lydia, what's happening there?
Yeah, Megan, yesterday the Englewood Police Department posted these photos on Facebook of a garage full of items that were stolen from the Miami Valley Career Technology Center. Now, police say there was $170,000 worth of equipment found in this garage on Calumet Lane.
And Lydia, when do police say that robbery took place?
They say the equipment was stolen on February 8th. Now, Englewood police have a person of interest that will face several felony charges, according to the Facebook post. Back to you.
Well, colder air is sliding its way in after several mild days in a row for us. We have a line of showers, which is now off to the east. But check out, just back in Indiana, they're even indicating some light snow, maybe even a few flurries that will be making their way into the Miami Valley as we head into the overnight hours. So bigger picture here, active weather's off to the east, and we'll continue to see that colder air slide in overnight. So heading through the overnight hours, we'll wake up to upper 20s. It's going to be a cold start to the day. By the afternoon, we'll make it into the 30s. Wind chills, they're going to be even colder. We're talking 20s throughout the day. Now heading into our Saturday, we start out in the 20s, but we do manage to make it back up into the 40s as we look into our Saturday afternoon, which, believe it or not, is back above normal for this time of the year. We do have an above normal temperature trend as we head into next week. And overall, the month of February has been a very warm one so far. We have Tim Boyd with the latest on that.
Yeah, so if you've been outside, which I'm sure you have this month, you've realized that we've had some pretty warm days. Everything indicated in red here is anything that's been above our average of the low 40s that we've seen. The blue indicates our below average days, and these three gray ones are just right around our average. So you see we've had 11 above average, 3 normal, 2 below, and even though we're going to be cold tomorrow, we are looking at keeping up the warming trend. You can see we're right on the cusp here of this yellowish orange line, indicating from the CPC that they can expect warmer than average temperatures to our south and southeast. So we're right on the cusp of that, so we'll probably be hovering right around normal or just slightly above it for the next couple of days. Keeping it colder, though, out towards our west and northwest towards the coast.
Tim, thanks. President Biden setting the record straight on the 3 unidentified aerial objects shot down by the U.S. military. He says he ordered the action out of an abundance of caution, but they likely didn't pose a threat.
The intelligence community's current assessment is that these 3 objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research.
Now, the president says nothing suggests they were spy balloons from other countries. That would make these 3, which were shot down over Alaska, Canada, and Lake Huron, different from the Chinese spy balloon shot down over the Atlantic Ocean several days ago. Now, while it seems like there's been a sudden increase of objects in the sky, the president says the military decided to broaden its monitors to detect more slow-moving objects. Typically only picks up fast-moving things like missiles or threatening planes, but now it'll pick up non-threatening things like weather balloons and birds.
And when the president was asked about his decision to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon earlier this month, he stood by it, saying it sent China a clear message.
The violation of our sovereignty is unacceptable. We'll act to protect our country, and we did. So I make no apologies for taking down that balloon.
Now, he reiterates what he said in the past, that the U.S. wants competition, not conflict or Cold War. President Biden is also defending the timing of the shoot down, saying when the balloon was over the states, it posed a risk to the people on the ground. The White House has been criticized by some lawmakers who argue it should have been shot down sooner. Others accuse the administration of not being transparent.
I think it probably served the country well to have the president explain what's going on.
I am not in any way afraid that we are under a threat of attack or physical harm to our homeland. That's my personal feeling. But the American people need to be reassured with more facts.
Now, today, President Biden vowed to keep Congress and the American people updated on objects in our airspace. A live look now from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam. Things look calm, but it's also getting cold, Natalie.
It is. Temperatures are falling pretty quickly. Here's a look at feels like temperatures. As we look through the rest of the evening, it's really going to drop. We were in the 50s and 60s today. By tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up in the teens. So kids heading out to the bus stop, hat, gloves, coat needed. It's going to be really cold. By the afternoon, we will see 20s. That's what it's going to feel like by later into the day. So still pretty cold, especially when we've been fairly mild. And then by Saturday, we start out with wind chills in the teens, but we do eventually start to see a little bit of a warming trend. So we start to climb. We're going up that hill by next week. 53 on Sunday, 50 on Monday, 52 for our high temperature on Tuesday. So we do have warmer than normal weather that will return by next week. And we'll also see some rain chances that will make their way back in too. So I'll have a look at the 7-day with the latest on that coming up in just a bit.
Natalie, thanks. Heart health coming more into focus following Damar Hamlin's collapse. The legislation that could require AED devices at all sporting events.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. Immediately following Damar Hamlin's collapse, where an automated external defibrillator saved the Buffalo Bills' life, there were calls for AEDs to be required at all youth sporting events.
Now that a new legislative session has begun in the State House, leaders are introducing legislation to do just that. David Winter shows us.
Certainly you did bring this up, and my colleague, my Democratic colleague from Columbus, he was very interested in it too, and so that came on the heels of our conversation, and you know, it's something that's important.
The bill would require schools and recreation centers across the state to have at least one AED, a device that restarts the heart after it has stopped, on their premises at all times. Proponents point to the hundreds of cases every year across the country where students go into cardiac arrest.
To just require the AEDs somewhere at the school, or does it need to be a certain distance from the playing area?
Certainly, we're relying on common sense and the people who are on the ground in that school to make the best decisions as to where to place them.
Some people are going to say this is an unfunded mandate.
Yes, there will be a cost to this, and can we alleviate that cost in the future? Hopefully, we can.
That was David Winter reporting. Committees will begin hearing testimony on the AED bill as early as next week.
And local health experts want to warn you tonight about a rise in norovirus, aka the stomach flu. It's a particular strain of virus that causes stomach pain, nausea, diarrhea, and sometimes fever and body aches. Premier Health tells us health experts are seeing very similar peaks to when the stomach flu was going around pre-COVID.
I think a lot of that is due to over the last several years, people had been masking, socially distancing, and some of the things that were just the normal over the last several years had lent itself to preventing a more widespread effect of norovirus because of how it spreads in the community.
She says the virus is currently spreading across the U.S. and right here in the Miami Valley. It's very easily spread from one person to another, especially in highly populated areas like schools, daycares, concerts, weddings, and airports. Now, there are some things you can do to avoid it, like washing your hands, cleaning surfaces, and avoiding others who may have it.
The high school hockey playoffs begin soon. How one Miami Valley team looks to represent the Dayton area with a long postseason run.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Good evening, I'm Matt Digby with a look at sports. The postseasons are in full swing for high school winter sports in Ohio, and with hockey's playoffs beginning this weekend, Beaver Creek is coming off a successful regular season. Now they turn their attention to a new goal.
Mentality is really just keep everyone's head into the game, because after the big win on last weekend, we all just got to keep looking forward. No, season's not done yet. State tournament's a big deal for us. We haven't made it very far recently, and this is the year for us. We're doing really solid. If you look too far ahead, you can blow by these games you should win, so focus on right now.
We all kind of work together, kind of develop those players and make sure they understand the parameters of what's expected of them on the team, as well as just teaching them the general rules of the game. I first started playing, my cousin introduced me to it a long time ago. This is my 11th season, I've been playing for a long time.
Pretty much all the seniors take
take them under our wings and teach them, coach them a little bit. It's all started in the summer at summer weightliftings, and we never won the first 2 games, so we have a good chance to do it this year, and we think we will, especially going in there with motivation and confidence. And first round we've already beat the team, so we're looking to do it again.
Well, again, 4 Miami Valley schools with varsity hockey teams. Alter and Springboro play their first round games on Friday evening. Beaver Creek will play Gahanna Lincoln Saturday at the Ice House right next to Nationwide Arena in downtown Columbus. The Beavers did beat the Lions a couple weeks ago. Troy will play Mason on Saturday, and if any of the 4 area teams win in the first round, their second round games will be on Saturday or Sunday. Well, it's the 75th anniversary of NASCAR, and the Daytona 500 is this Sunday over on Fox 45. We have team coverage from Daytona International Speedway leading up to race day. Coverage of the 500 gets underway 2:30 Sunday, again on Fox 45.
Well, we are tracking overall winter-like weather returning to the area because we have seen some very spring-like weather across the area. So this is what season it is here. Full spring, or it's just what we saw, I should say, because second winter is on the way. Spring-like weather was nice, but we have to remember that it is February. We've been well above normal for this month. So what we're kind of watching here